say something about middle class people. They didn't have the swagger that they have now. They weren't really into enough. I'm talking about in my country, yeah, which is I live in England, yeah. Hopefully you know that by the. Anyway, it's not the
accent.
Yeah. The bottom line is they didn't have the swagger. They weren't really into the exotic things that they're into. I mean, I'm not saying that there's different levies of them. Like the upper middle class were the ones that more travelled round and did things and whatever have you. But still, the swagger wasn't. Their swagger now is like rich people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like you kind of like commute upwards and you start doing new things and you start seeing lifestyles and it's more amenable for you and it's more cheaper than it ever was to a point to go there and to have these things. Or like I live in an area where you see the first Bentley I ever seen in my life, I was driving behind it. I live in West London. I saw this car. I couldn't believe. I was like, what the hell is this? I thought this car, it was amazing. About 6-7 months later, I see in America all the rap videos. They got the Bentleys. I was like, my gosh, I was driving behind one.
And now it's a lot more regular, basically.
Yeah, you'll see cars. In West London, you will see cars. People drive cars sometimes that are not. It's like they get the pre-release. The brand new Audis or the brand new. I always see a fresh car that I've never seen before or never knew it was out in my area.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about West London, but I haven't got the money.
Yeah, and
that wasn't about before. That's what I'm trying to say. The cars, the money that people spend, it wasn't there. Now middle class people are showing that they're enjoying their money. I'm saying before, in my era, they didn't. So obviously being poor, it's like, oh, middle class. Or what was that anyway? It's like, I want to be rich. It's always about that rich, that dream, and I'm going to get this when I'm rich. I'm going to do that. It was all sort of dreams and maybe a few practicals, but that's what it was like. Your era.
Yeah, so me growing up now, I would say that as a kid, like primary school age, it hadn't totally kicked in yet. But by the time I was a teenager, people having flash cars, people having nice houses, and like I said, I live in West London as well. We live in West London. Was just a regular occurrence all around me, really, and it seemed like that was the standard, as I said before. So growing up through that, and going through, it was always promoted to go through education, and through education is the way you go to university, get a job. That was the route, basically, and it seemed like if you went through education, you went through university, you got a job, that would mean that you're able to live the standard lifestyle that I just said. Have your own house, have a fancy car, go on holidays a couple times a year. It wasn't. The difference to his era was sort of like it was a dream. You had to work hard to reach it and be rich to do that. Whereas in my era, that was middle class and that was just to live comfortably. Now I'll say in my era, that's really as I was growing up. So I went to university, I did my thing, and then just as I finished university was when this current credit crunch hit. I finished in 2008, and as you all know, or you should know, that's when it hit hard, basically, and jobs were less and whatnot. So I did video production, so it's quite it's not a course that was sort of like you guarantee you get a job afterwards, but still, it was the credit crunch hit. And a lot of my friends, as I'm sure you've seen in news stories and stuff, people having to downgrade their ambitions, really.
Around the world,
yeah.
I'm sure they
reality hit and everything, but it didn't really change people's means and what they consider necessities and luxuries. It didn't really change. People still wanted to try and continue a lifestyle because people were also used to loans at the time, and especially students as well. That's how you went through university, was you got the loans and you paid it back. And the interest rate from the 3 years I was at university, so 2005 to 2008, each year the way it went up was not gradual. It was a steep curve.
I remember you saying.
So I'm sure people were saying that it was coming. The facts and figures were there, but people weren't still paying attention or adhering to what the possibilities is about to happen. So now my generation has had to do a whole mind shift, mind flip, in a way of how they view things. University isn't the only way to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, it's about what you can do.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't promoted to go out and get a job and build up that way.
Okay, let's bring it back to the old school now.
Yeah.
Like for me, as I've always said, I mean, obviously, you've been around me for many years now. But when you went to college, it was like it was a loan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but obviously, on a deeper one, a life cycle, I knew that basically credit was a bit cheaper at the time, so you could take a loan.
Yeah.
It was manageable. Whatever you could do, it was still a loan.
Yeah.
The credit was always good. Interest, APR was always gonna catch up on them, and and basically it's at that era, at that time, and it was happening already in America.
Yeah.
So I always knew it was coming the European way, like it always does. That's how it is.
And people got used to the idea of living in debt, which is a bit odd. And the whole sort of go to university, you get a loan, you pay it back through your life. They always promoted you don't pay it back until you're earning a certain amount of money and all of this stuff. So, and the whole sort of not thinking far ahead, you think just for the now. That's how it was really. And I remember some of my friends went to university. Like, I went and studied something I wanted to study. A lot of people, possibly the majority of people, went for the sake of going to university, not doing something they wanted to do, dropping out in the first year with a big debt on their head. And it's not just the student loans that created the debt for them, it was also bank loans as well. Banks were giving out a lot of money to students.
Now let's bring it back to the old school. Now, old school, I went to college, but you see, like university was something. Pardon? Who in your family went to university? You probably grew up in an era where it's like, oh well, I was the first one, or we're the first two, or something like that. In my era, going to university was a big thing. That's why you knew you was rolling different when you was going to university, and then the government, society, the system just made it cheaper, made it easier, made it even more practically easier. So you could, I don't even want to do that anymore.
Let me switch.
Let me do this. I mean, your era to me with the educational thing, how could you have thrown it away like that?
And he's totally right, because I experienced it myself. I found sixth form harder than university. That's the equivalent of college, really. And also, you know, what the requirements were for university. Obviously, it was difficult to get into Oxford and Cambridge, and that's what a lot of people strive for. But for certain subjects, it's not good for that, like media, for example. And I was looking for a specific course I wanted to do rather than looking at the quality of the university, because I just wanted to do the exact course I wanted to do. And I was shocked when they told me you just need 2 Ds to get here.
Okay, well, let me show you something as well. Now, that's something about classes system what I'm talking about. Like, basically, in my era, we knew and people knew, like, look, these people do these things, us people do those things. And maybe you could jump in the middle now and again. But you hope to hang on and stay there. But sometimes you're most likely to fall down, possibly, But there would be the lucky few. But it's crazy how the people became that. I can't understand or fathom that. Like, how did this era come? Like, I'm not part of that. I feel alien from that, because it's like I'm just looking at younger people just throwing away opportunities that are just mad.